Hey, listeners, I can't wait to dive into this episode. It's going to be a fairly short one. It's a rapid fire Q&A with my guest, who is an internationally recognized expert on ageism. Her name is Ashton Applewhite, and I'm just kind of in love with that name. I'm Deborah Atkinson. You're listening to She Means Fitness Business. Newly named that from having been fitness marketing mastery and voice for fitness professionals. I think this podcast has just been finding itself for the last decade. And now we've arrived. This is where I share marketing and sales strategies that are easy, enjoyable, even fun. Anything but sleazy, salesy, and pushy, so that you can build a business and a life that you love, having the freedom to enjoy it and do it with integrity, feeling good about the messages you send. And this podcast is right up there with how we do it, especially if you are serving women who may be in perimenopause, menopause, or postmenopause. We're establishing really a business at a mark in life that has been known as this is like no longer reproductive years. This is known as this is a big transition now into older age. So we talk and unpack all of that, not just in this episode, Shorty, but in the main episode at Flipping 50. And I will link to that in the show notes. And I cannot wait to dive in. My guest, again, is an internationally recognized expert on ageism, Ashton Applewhite. She's the author of This Chair Rocks, a manifesto against ageism, a co-founder of the Old School Anti-Ageism Clearinghouse. She speaks widely at venues that have included the TED Mainstage and the United Nations, and is at the forefront of the emerging movement to raise awareness of ageism and to dismantle of it. And I'm all for you and I being a part of the consciousness about this as well. Let's dive in. So I'm here with Ashton Applewhite, and we are doing really a follow-up just for you, fitness and health coaches. So I want to rapid fire some questions in the health and fitness arena. There's a significant number of messages going in and out with images, words, the instructors we hire. If I ask you a broad-based question, what suggestions would you have for fitness professionals making choices about their ad, their website, their social media images?
In terms of how to attract clients of all ages, or in what context?
In terms of how to portray, how to represent women who are, in their 40s, their 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond.
I would say that in any context, not just sports and fitness, we older women need to be represented in all our diversity and in proportion to our numbers in society. I think it's very easy to find photographs of older athletes. There's a British photographer named Alex Rotas who has a ton of them. And I think those people are important and inspirational, but I also think it's as or more important to show ordinary people who are lumpy and bumpy and not able to, stand on their heads for hours at a time. And I also think it's important to show people with disabilities, to show people, with walkers, or show the people who, are canes, because cognitive decline is not inevitable, but some part of your body is going to fall apart. And I think it's, you know better than I do that the body has incredible recuperative powers, that strength training, even after, severe injury or disability, can bring people back to, often to better function than they had before. So it's important to show not just super thin fit people being super thin and fit, but the full gamut of bodies and of experience.
Fantastic. Are there good examples that come to your mind? You did mention a photographer, and I'll list him in the show notes, everybody.
It's a woman, actually.
Oh, it's a woman. Okay.
You would know it from her name, but yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else, or is there a business who's doing a good job at this?
Well, I'm glad you asked that because, and I want to direct people to the old school anti-ageism clearinghouse, which was something I started with two people a couple of years ago. And one of the ideas we had was, gee, we need a free, hopefully, photo bank of images of older people that do just what I just described to you, show older people and not just white older people, right? Like people of all colors and all genders and ideally from different countries too. And some of them dressed to the nines and some of them looking schlumpy like they're on their way back from the gym after a tough workout, or older people who can't afford to go to the gym too, right? We need all the pictures in there. And I'm super happy to say that instead of us having to do it, several different outfits have created non-ageist image banks. One is a partnership with AARP and Getty. It's pricey. Shutterstock just did an initiative with the American Society on Aging. There's an outfit in Colorado that did an anti-ageist greeting card campaign and photography contest. So if you go to the Old School Clearinghouse, oldschool.info, and search image or photography, you will find what's on there, as well as, and I'm happy to say that, on the web, there are just more and more images, which I think we see as a reflection of more interest in diversity generally, in representation of people of color, of people with disabilities, of people of all genders in the culture at large. And if you think of age as just another component like that.
Love it. Great. And thank you so much for the resources. So listeners, we've got all of that in the show notes. The links will be there. We'll get you to the right place. I'm going to throw a couple comments at you. So very common. I don't know how many times I've said this myself, been said this too. And I responded, I'm getting old. And then the response is, well, it's better than the alternative. What do you say? What do you say to that?
Well, first of all, you are getting old. I'm getting old too. So is the 5-year-old downstairs. Everyone is getting old. Everyone wakes up a day older. And ageism takes root in denial. I mean, it's sort of nutty to go through life pretending that something that's happening to us every day is never going to happen to us. But that is what happens, especially somewhere north of middle age, wherever middle age is, when the goal for people who can afford it becomes to stop the clock, right? To like freeze as though it were desirable to stop or possible to stop changing and adapting and growing, which we do all through life, especially in late life, once we have the time and slow down enough, some of us, to be able to do so. So everyone is aging. There's that. And I used to think that it beats the alternative was sort of a cute thing to say, except it then dawned on me that all that really means is that the only thing worse than being old is being dead. So I don't say that anymore.
Right. Exactly. All right. I'm going to give you some rapid fire contemporary hashtags. You tell me, okay, yay, nay, get rid of it, do something about it, and feel free to elaborate. Anti-aging.
I don't think aging is the problem. I think ageism is the problem. Aging is living. To live is to age. So I think every time you see anti-aging on a product, you should think pretty carefully about what it promises, because anti-aging really means anti-living.
What about hashtag never too old?
I'm going to give that one a thumbs up. I admit that my thoughts went immediately to probably too old to climb Mount Everest, especially without oxygen. But then I realized I was being ageist. I am definitely not fit enough to climb Everest, but there are people my age who could do it, right? So the idea, and of course we can adapt and change and grow as we move through life. So there may be reasons why you can't do something or accomplish something, but it's never actually about your age.
Hashtag forever young.
Thumbs down on that one. I mean, the only way to be forever young is to die young.
Hashtag aging backwards.
Good luck with that. What the hell does that mean?
Oh, and similarly, hashtag aging in reverse. Mm-hmm. Okay, we won't even honor that.
I mean,
okay.
I just conjure up an image of someone, in a car trying to drive down a freeway with their head out the window in reverse. It's just like, what's the point? You can't stop the clock, and trying to do so is futile. It sets us up to fail, costs a ton of money, and is really not a very healthy way to think about the years ahead. It's so self-destructive and dumb.
Be careful with this one. Hashtag flipping 50.
I like that, although in a way I like it because the idea is to flip the script, I
Yeah.
assume. And
Yes.
if we didn't live in a society that said turning 50 was, the end of your youth and all fun things, we
Mhm.
wouldn't need flipping 50.
It's
So
true.
I think flipping 50 is great. And I look forward to the day when it's obsolete and we don't have to push back against the dominant narrative of decline and negativity.
Ugh, exactly what I say. Good. All right. I love this one. I hope you do too. Hashtag active aging.
I think it's fine. But I also think we need to not forget about the people who are not able to be active.
Mhm.
We live in a culture that barrages us with the message that aging is terrible and that disability and impairment are disastrous. But if we look at the disability justice movement and that remarkable people with disabilities who have had an important impact on other people's lives and are just astonishing people, partly because they have had to overcome these challenges, a lot of them are not what we would call active. And it can be ableist, right? Prejudiced against people with physical impairments to suggest that active aging is a goal for all when it is not obtainable for all. And we can have, if all you want to do or are capable of all of doing in later life is, to sit on the proverbial porch swing and you can afford to do that, no judgment. But we, of course, do know also that being physically active is good for your health.
Thank you for that. So lots of depth there, lots of food for thought. I want to ask this one. This is really less a hashtag and more a label that we give to things, and it is senior fitness. I want to ask your input on the word senior.
I don't think anyone likes the word senior.
Thank you.
I sort of associated myself with, cruises and, puffy shoes and sensible stuff that doesn't seem like much fun. But there, I'm sure I'm going to get in trouble for saying that. When I was writing my book, I got tired of writing older people, which I think is really the only acceptable sort of word for older people. And I shortened it to olders and youngers. And I recommend it because one thing I don't like about seniors, aside from its sort of shuffleboard connotations, is that it implies a seniority. And I don't think that there should be a value attached to your age. I don't think younger people have less value. I don't think older people have more value. I think every human being deserves to be respected and valued. And I like olders and youngers because it's value neutral. And it breaks down this idea that, at a certain point you become old and fall off a cliff. It's a spectrum, right? We age in relation to others. Someone in a retirement home, who's 96 will assure you that she is younger than Mrs. McGillicuddy down the hall. A 4-year-old will assure you she is older than her 3-year-old sister. So I like that idea of aging in relation. And also it's always, if you just talk about older people or younger people rather than, I hate generational labels, that then labeling a certain age group, then that's really the vagueness of it serves us well in this context, especially in the arena of physical performance, where standards vary so widely. One 40-year-old can be infinitely more fit, or 80-year-old than a much, much younger person. So if we have people aging in relation to each other, and it's tricky in fitness, I know, or in athletic competitions, because of course there are races, for 60 and up and 70 and up and 40 and up and so on. And I can understand the reasons for those, but in a truly age neutral world, it would be dependent on your capacity and your performance, not upon age.
True. Very true. It's been such a pleasure. And listeners, I want to make sure that you realize that we've done a full episode at Flipping 50, and that'll be at flipping50.com/ageism dismantled. Again, the notes will be here in this episode. So I want you to go and get it. You'll get some of those links to photographs that you may want to use and look a little bit deeper at whether you might be a little bit more ageist than you think too. Thanks so much for being here, Ashton.
My pleasure.
All right, listeners, what are you waiting for? The world needs us right now more than ever.